Beneath the Atlantic, where sunlight fades into pressure and time, sound becomes the only language that endures. Every whisper, every metallic heartbeat, carries the memory of things the surface has forgotten. In that darkness, silence is never empty. It's filled with the weight of everything that has sunk and never returned. In the spring of 1968, the Cold War turned the oceans into a chessboard of ghosts. Steel vessels hunted each other in shadows, their captains guided not by sight but by sonar pings and faith. Each dive was a conversation with uncertainty. Each return, a small defiance of the deep. Among them sailed the USS Scorpion, sleek, fast, and proud, a creature of the Atom Age, born to listen, to watch, and to never be seen. Her sting was silence itself. To the men aboard, silence meant mastery, control over noise, over detection, over fear. But beneath that discipline, there was still the fragile heartbeat of humanity, echoing inside a steel shell. And on a calm May morning, as she slipped below the Atlantic waves for the last time, that heartbeat faded, not with thunder, but with the quiet precision of a vanished signal. In a sea that never forgets, even silence leaves an echo. In the late 1960s, the world's oceans were divided by fear and ambition. The Cold War had turned every current into a corridor of secrets. Above, nations smiled for the cameras. Below, they stalked one another in silence. The race was not for land, but for depth. For whoever ruled the deep could strike unseen, anywhere, at any time. Beneath this invisible front, fleets of nuclear submarines patrolled like ghosts. The United States and the Soviet Union each commanded more firepower than the planet could bear, yet both believed deterrence required more stealth, more endurance, more machines that could vanish without a trace. USS Scorpion was one of those machines. Commissioned in 1960, she was among the Navy's most advanced fast attack submarines. She carried torpedoes, sensors, and a heart of uranium, a vessel built to hunt the hunters. Her name suited her. Small, agile, and deadly, crewmen joked that she had a sting for the unwise. But behind their humor was respect. They knew the ocean could turn predator at any time. The men aboard were young, many barely past 20. They played cards in the mess hall, fixed radios, traded letters from home. In black and white photographs, they smiled easily, unaware that history would one day freeze those faces forever. Commander Francis Slattery, calm and meticulous, led them with quiet precision. He believed in discipline, in drills, in the science of survival. "Trust your instruments," he once told a trainee. "Out here, instinct will lie to you." The gauges walked. By 1968, Scorpion had completed several Cold War patrols, tracking Soviet fleets, mapping Atlantic channels, gathering intelligence. She was due for overhaul, yet orders called her back to sea once more. That spring, she departed Norfolk, Virginia, for the Mediterranean, then turned home through the dark mid-Atlantic. Her mission was routine, her route classified. Nothing suggested this would be her final voyage. May 1968 was a restless month. Paris was in revolt. Prague whispered of freedom, and the Atlantic hummed with coded signals from two superpowers. In Washington, tension hung like fog. Across the ocean, Moscow listened. Somewhere between the two, Scorpion moved through the black water, her sonar tracing distant pings, her reactor steady, her crew confident. At 7,200 tons of steel, she seemed invincible. But even steel remembers its limits. Beneath the calm, every bolt, every weld bore the fatigue of years at sea. And beneath the calm professionalism of her crew lay something fragile. The unspoken awareness that in the deep, perfection is borrowed, never owned. On May 21st, radio operators at naval stations received Scorpion's last routine transmission. Her voice was steady. Position reported. No distress. Then the ocean swallowed her frequency, and the line went quiet. In that silence, the Atlantic held its breath. The ocean was calm that morning, flat, featureless, almost kind. Scorpion was making her way north, 400 miles southwest of the Azores. Depth, classified. Speed, steady. Systems, nominal. Nothing about that day suggested history was waiting below. At 19 hard hours, sonar operators aboard nearby vessels noted a faint, irregular ping, an echo out of rhythm, like a heartbeat skipping. A small deviation, easily dismissed. Inside Scorpion, a technician marked a rise in ambient noise. Hydraulic pressure had fluctuated, just slightly. A routine report was filed. "Engineering to control," a voice said over the intercom. "We've got minor noise on the starboard side. Might be nothing." In the control room, Commander Slattery nodded. He had heard that tone before, the ocean playing tricks, metal expanding, the deep reminding them who ruled here. He told them to monitor it. No alarm. Over the next hour, that sound returned, sharper now, like a whisper of grinding steel. Temperature in the torpedo room ticked higher. One technician thought he smelled oil, another tightened a valve. The captain ordered a depth check. The gauges read normal, until they didn't. A sudden shudder rolled through the hull. Loose tools rattled on steel decks. Then, silence again. The crew looked at one another, waiting for the vibration to fade. It didn't. "Loss of trim control," someone shouted. The bow dipped, then steadied, then dipped again. Slattery's voice remained calm. Ballast blow partial. Compressed air roared through the pipes. The submarine trembled, fighting gravity itself. Then came the second sound, a metallic thud, deep and deliberate, from the forward torpedo bay. A torpedo, armed and unstable, had likely activated under pressure change. Whether from malfunction or chain reaction, no one could tell. They had seconds to react, but no clear threat on the board. Every man waited for the captain's next word. It never came. At 1942 GMT, hydrophones thousands of miles away picked up a sharp metallic crack, followed by two violent compressions. Analysts would later mark them as implosion events. Inside Scorpion, the lights flickered once. Pressure indicators spiked. Air burst through compartments like invisible fire. Bulkheads tore open in a chorus of steel. The ocean flooded in, a wall of silence crushing sound itself. Then nothing. No transmission, no emergency beacon, only the echo of metal collapsing at 11,000 feet per minute. Above, radio operators called into static. "Scorpion, this is Norfolk Control. Report status." "Scorpion, respond." Only the sea answered, and even it was quiet. In the black cold of the Atlantic, Scorpion's hull broke apart under 10,000 feet of water. Men, machines, and memories fell together, their descent lit only by the glow of failed instruments. No explosion marked the end. Only implosion, so fast it bordered on mercy. When it was over, the ocean closed itself as though nothing had happened. No bubbles, no debris, just the slow drift of silt and a silence too complete to measure. Hours later, satellites searched the region. No signal, no trace. The world continued to move, unaware that beneath it, 129 lives had already been folded into the deep. And in that single second, everything that was human vanished into the deep. For days, the ocean said nothing. Naval commands called again and again into the void. No reply. By the end of May 1968, the United States Navy listed the Scorpion as overdue. Families waited by phones that never rang, scanning evening news broadcasts for a word that would not come. Within hours, ships and aircraft began to sweep the Atlantic corridor where the Scorpion was last heard. Sonar buoys dropped into the dark like tiny, listening hearts. At first, the search grid was too wide, hundreds of miles of silence. Then, faint acoustic patterns from undersea microphones told another story. Two bursts of energy separated by a few seconds, the unmistakable signature of a submarine implosion. Weeks later, deep-sea camera sleds captured scattered debris at 9,800 feet. Fragments of the hull lay twisted and folded, a machine turned inward on itself. A single letter N from her nameplate rested upright on the seabed, as if trying to surface through memory alone. In Washington, engineers studied the hydrophone data frame by frame. They mapped the final seconds, tracing each sound until even the static fell silent. One analyst whispered, "It ended faster than they could understand." Across Norfolk Naval Base, black flags rose. Widows stood with folded telegrams, their children staring at the horizon that had taken their fathers. The official statement called it a probable mechanical failure. But among sailors, another rumor spread that Scorpion had been struck by her own torpedo or hunted by another. The truth dissolved in classified files. In 1969, the Navy launched Project Azores and other deep-sea recovery programs, each inspired by what had been lost. Technicians built new fail-safes, stronger hulls, automatic distress transmitters. From tragedy came the determination to make the ocean answer next time. Yet no improvement could return the 99 sailors and 30 specialists whose last duty was silence. Every year since, a small ceremony is held at Norfolk. No speeches, just the reading of names. One by one, they echo through loudspeakers and drift away on the wind. Some of the families still send flowers to the sea. Most simply watch, listening to the pauses between the names where their loved ones once were. The Scorpion was a vessel of mastery, steel, science, and faith in control. But the ocean does not negotiate with mastery, it waits, and when it moves, it does so without malice, only certainty. For the men who design machines to conquer nature, the Scorpion remains a lesson etched in salt, that progress without humility is only another dive into darkness. The deeper we build, the deeper the silence that follows. They rebuilt what was lost, but never what was gone. Beneath the Atlantic, where sound travels farther than light, the wreck of Scorpion still rests, silent, complete, untouched by time. Currents pass over her like hands remembering a shape once known. Every now and then a distant sonar pulse touches the hull, and the echo returns slower, softer, as if the ocean itself is answering a question no one asked aloud. In the years since, the world above has changed. New machines dive deeper, faster, armed with better safeguards. But every engineer who studies the deep still carries her memory. She is the quiet proof that mastery without humility always ends where light cannot reach. The ocean remembers, even when we forget. It keeps its archives not in words but in pressure, salt, and time. And somewhere in that cold library, a single heartbeat still lingers. Not mechanical, not human, just remembered. Above, seagulls trace circles over calm water. The surface gives nothing away. The wind hums a low note that sounds almost like a name. Because silence is not absence, it's memory, still breathing.